Hi, everyone. My name is Diana Neal, and I'm with Take Courage Ministries and Take Courage Consulting and Coaching. I wanted to jump on today because I have the honor and privilege to have a wonderful conversation with my friend Susan. Thank you, Susan, for coming on with me today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. So Susan and I today, we are going to talk about embracing rest. And Susan she's not only a good friend of mine, but she's someone that I really value her wisdom, her intellect, her experience, and just her godliness and insight in this area. And as you begin to hear from Susan, one thing about you, I just feel like you carry heaven's rest. You carry heaven's peace, even in you just sharing and talking. And so I'm super excited for today and for what you're going to share. I want to share just a little bit about you, and then go ahead and release you to talk on the subject a bit, and we can just converse back and forth. But this is Susan, and her last name is Spissman, correct? Is that how you say it?
Spissman.
Yeah. Spissman. Okay. And Susan, she is a business alignment therapist. She worked in traditional therapy for about 5 years. And she said that she found that was just one piece of the healing process. And God led her in her own journey and led her out of traditional therapy into business alignment therapy. And she helps many people in the area of business and creating wealth. However, a big topic on her heart, and something that she carries very well, is embracing rest. And so I'm very excited. We're also going to talk about today Susan's masterclass course that's coming up. And so we'll get into all of that. But Susan, I wanted to start out by saying, like, I thought that I understood the topic of rest. It's one thing to understand it from a place of like head knowledge, like, yes, we're supposed to enter God's rest and all of that. But when you get thrown into that place, in a sense of having to learn it and experience it, which is really what happened to me in the past year. It's a whole different story to like experience it. And I know this is something that you live. It's definitely something that I feel I have a much better understanding of. And I'm just really looking forward today, even you just sharing some nuggets and revelation of what embracing rest really means. And also just sharing like what this masterclass is that you have coming up and what people should expect.
Yeah, thank you so much for that sweet introduction.
You are welcome.
So where do I start? Similar to you, how you were saying, like it had to be an experience for you. I had that same, and that's what I see a lot of entrepreneurs, especially coming into the Lord saying, okay, you have to stop.
Yeah.
And he brings it to us as an experience because we don't stop before we get to that point and, make it, well, first of all, I didn't even know what it was. So it wasn't something that I was, intentionally seeking out. And he did have to bring it to me and that come to a head and it be an experience and journey for me with him to see what it is, how you enter into it, and then how you stay there, how you live in it. And I will absolutely say I still don't have it all figured out. It's a continual process, as it is with most things in our journey with the Lord.
Yes.
So I'm just maybe a few steps ahead of you.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I know for me, like one of the things that was huge was God would keep saying rest, and it did not make sense to me. Like, I'm like, how can I rest when I just like took a huge leap of faith out of a full-time job into ministry and coaching? Like, God, that does not make sense. And he would say rest, and I would be obedient. Sometimes I wouldn't be obedient. And then I would see rewards coming. And it didn't always look like the way that I thought it should look, but it was always a way that he was manifesting some type of goodness or reward or whatever it might be. And it really has taken me on a journey of knowing God in a different way and really trusting him, trusting that he has our best interest in mind.
Yeah.
And with that being said, I'd love to ask you this question. I mean, you have the floor to share whatever you'd like to share, any nuggets or revelation. But the question that people ask me, and I don't feel that I have the answer, is like, okay, I'm building this thing right now, or I'm pioneering this, or I'm wanting more clients, or whatever it might be. What does it look like to actually rest? Because sometimes when I'm resting, I feel like I'm not doing anything at all. There's kind of like that fine line between like striving, in a sense, and then in some ways you have to market yourself or promote specific things. So I wondered if you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. So I too have struggled with articulating exactly what it is. And I found that it's easier to start with what it's not.
Yeah.
So rest is not spa day.
Mhm.
Rest is not vacation. It can be, but that's not the core of what it is. Rest is not inactivity. But I love that you brought out a key here to rest is trust.
Okay.
Because we are not able to rest in him
Mhm.
if we don't trust that he's going to be the one bringing the results.
Yes.
Right. So I describe it now as rest is a place in him
Mhm.
where we abide. Right. He has already brought us into union. We're already there, but we've got to bring our awareness to that's where we are.
Right.
And for me, this became super apparent when just like you, I came onto or came into the online space.
Yeah.
I closed down my private practice. The Lord's calling me here. Okay, I'm going to do this thing. And then he was like, but slow down. And I'm like, what? I have, like 20 things on my, like, I've got to do all the things. What are you telling me?
Yes.
But I realized I didn't trust that he was going to provide,
Mhm.
that he was going to protect,
Yeah.
and that he was going to give me my position.
Yes.
Right. And those are the three things that everybody is trying to do for themselves.
Yes.
That God has said, that's my job.
Right.
Let me do it.
Right.
And so rest is really coming into this place of letting him love you
Yes.
and trusting him to say, you are my provider. I don't have to provide for myself.
Right.
You are my protection. I don't have to protect myself. Just meaning
Right.
like I can be visible on places
Yeah.
and there's not fear of judgment or, I'm not looking at the numbers. I'm just sharing his heart, right?
Yes.
And then I'm trusting you to really develop my positioning in the marketplace
Yes.
and stepping into knowing I'm his. So I don't have to prove anything to anybody.
Right.
Right? Like he's going to do that for me. He's going to position me where I need to be in front of the people I need to be in, right? In front of.
Yes.
And that's that will bring, part of that provision and protection in the process of the positioning.
Right. So what I'm hearing you say in a lot of words, it's like, it, a lot of the rest needs to be rooted in one, our identity as sons and daughters in Christ.
Absolutely.
And then in that as well, it all ties in together, is knowing that we're loved and that he's a good father and he's going to take care of us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that it's not about laying back and doing nothing at all, of course.
Right.
But it's really being firm, it sounds like, in our identity.
Yeah, identity is for sure a key piece, because for me, again, that when I started my business, being an entrepreneur, I was setting out to prove that I wasn't what people thought I was.
Right.
Right. And so that's the identity piece. And I went into this performance of, I have to prove who I am. I
Right.
have to prove that I'm successful, and I have to prove that I am fill in the blank, whatever they told me I
Yes.
wasn't.
Yes.
Right. And so when you're firm in your identity as being one with him, then you're no
Yes.
longer performing. It's
Yes.
partnership.
Yes.
You step into that partnership with him that says, again, he's showing people who I am. I don't have to do that.
Yes.
Right. But again, that foundational piece of trust there, like, you're not going to step into that partnership relationship with him if you don't trust his character and his goodness and who he says he is.
Yes.
Right. So it's really, the foundation would be love. And then that next piece would be trust.
Yes.
And then you're comfortable enough being vulnerable to go into that place of rest with him.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I do. And I think there's such freedom in that. And I'll often say it's like a sweet spot that you find. Because when you know that you're doing something, one, out of obedience, because you feel like the Lord has called you to whatever it might be. And then you're doing it out of obedience, but just in this place of rest and knowing you're loved and you're cared for. It's like the pressure comes off. You're like, okay, pressure off. And you can just kind of breathe. Not kind of, you can breathe, because it's like, okay, this isn't about me. Like, I'm showing up and I'm doing my part, but essentially God has all of it. If he said to do it, then he's going to provide for it. And so I think that place is just such a beautiful place to be in, because I've been in both. I've been in the striving, and that's something I've had to really decipher and discern with the Lord, because I'm a person of, like, I always say this, like, I have a very high capacity. I can do a lot and in a short amount of time. And I've had to learn that not all of that comes to me is mine to do. And I've had to slow down and have a grace to the pace that God has called me to. But when you're a person with that high capacity, it's like this place of having to intentionally say stop. And that's where I talked about my process a little bit. When I dove into like full-time ministry and the coaching, I'm like, oh, I'm just gonna go for it. And I just had all these ideas. And when you're flowing in the prophetic and you're one with the Lord, like, you have creativity flowing through you. There's supernatural ideas and things coming to you all the time. Maybe not all the time, but often. And so a lot of it feels like a great idea, feels like a God idea. And it's like, no, hold on a minute. Let me stop. Let me ask, first of all, and then let me respond with a go or a no. but I have to definitely, we need to tap in with God and ask. So
Yeah.
that's something that I've had to learn, and I'm still learning. Okay, what is you, God? And now how fast do I go? When do I go? And that grace to the pace thing that I spoke about for a minute, I realized like when I enter into that grace, for what he has me to do, often it's like what the productivity multiplies when I'm in that space with him. But when
Yeah.
I'm striving, it's like going through like thick mud,
Yep.
nothing's getting done. So that's
Yes.
that's what I've learned, some of what I've learned
Yeah.
so far. And I'm excited to learn more. I was talking to Krish about this, my husband, yesterday, and about your course. And he hears me talk about you often. And you did such a beautiful job in my mentorship. And a lot of the women got freedom through you talking about receiving God's love. So once again, I thank you for that. And I love that you brought that up again today. But we were talking, and I'm like, I'm very excited to hear what is in this masterclass coming up. So would you share with my audience what they can expect when they register for this course? And I know the course is starting, it starts on May 11th, correct?
Yeah, and it's actually I'm just doing one night. It is May 11th. We're doing 2 hours. And we'll see if the Lord leads to do something else after that. But for right now, it's just an introduction.
Okay.
I mean, very, very much an introduction because, I spend, like 9 months typically
Yes.
teaching this. So I'm like, how do I condense this down to 2 hours, and not even the full 2 hours? Like, I want to be clear with people that it's not going to be you listening to me talk for 2 hours.
Yes.
I'm going to try to keep it to an hour-ish.
Yes.
And then do an activation so people actually have an experience, an encounter with him of
Awesome.
what it looks like to go into rest.
Okay.
And then hopefully we have some time to do Q&A as well.
Okay.
So it is just one night, but I want to go back to something you touched on there that is a great indication for people who are sitting there going, I'm not sure if this is for me or not. And
Yeah.
you talked about what it feels like in striving.
Yes.
And right, when you are in striving, everything feels hard.
Yes. Yes.
So if you're in a place of like, everything is hard, this is probably where you want to be.
Yes.
You want to hop into this, because when you're in the freedom of rest, again, it's not inactivity.
Yes.
Right. I'm still working in my business. I'm still doing things. I won't say I'm doing all the things, because, I do, like you were saying, I'm intentional about what are we doing today?
Yes.
What are the activities that are most important? Right. And deciding that together with him.
Yes.
First of all, I mean, that one thing alone is going to knock like 5 things off your list, because that's not all important.
Yep.
But then even when you are doing the activities, you're doing it from that place of there's no pressure.
Yes.
Because what I'm doing is not what's bringing the results.
Yes.
God is going to bring the results, because he's already told me I'm responsible for you.
Yes.
You're mine. And so I can trust, right? I can just do my activity and I can enjoy it.
Yes.
Actually enjoy it. And then I can go, okay, your turn. Right. And then he brings the people.
Yes.
He brings whatever those results or things are that you're looking for. The provision is already there, right?
Yes.
It was there with us in him before the foundation of the world. There's nothing we don't already have.
Yes.
Right. So seeing those results manifest into our life is from that place of resting, agreeing with, Lord, this is what you have said you want to give me.
Yes.
I receive it.
Yeah.
Let's let it come into the earth, right? Heaven to earth.
Yes.
That's what we're doing.
Yes.
So the results are already there. That's the distinction I want to make too. Like whether it's clients or resources or money or whatever it is you're asking him for,
Yeah.
it's already in heaven.
Yeah.
And you partnering with him is what is going to bring it into the earth.
Absolutely.
Right. So I do the things, right? I do all the activities, the task I need to do in my business. And then God brings in, right? Like you said, there's no pressure in, I have to make something happen. I have to find clients. I have to create wealth.
Right.
I
Right.
don't. He
Right.
does that.
Yes, exactly.
That's his part.
Yes.
Part is just show up and give him something to work with.
Yes, I love that. Show up and give them something to work with. So yeah, like if God's calling you to create a website or to do certain marketing and whatnot, that's not, sometimes people get that confused. Like, oh, that's me striving. I'm putting this out. I'm putting this out. No, that can be overdone in a sense. But if you're
Right.
following Holy Spirit, that gives God something to work with and an avenue. Those are tools. Those are things that we use that help set us up for success and with God.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so that's amazing. Well, Susan, thank you so much for today. I know this is just like such a small piece of everything that you have to offer. Like you said, you typically take 9 months to really teach and train and develop people in rest and in so many other things as well. But I will be dropping in the link for registering for the masterclass on embracing rest. And I'll also drop in your website as well. So before we go, do you want to share anything else?
Get registered.
Yes, exactly. Register now. Honestly, I know I said this in the beginning, but I have gained a lot from your wisdom, even from the first, I think you did a challenge when we first met, and I forgot what it was called. Um, Something about millionaire, I think, or
Oh, the millionaire mindset.
yes, yes. And I remember getting on going, whoa, I had no idea like this was in Susan. We had just met,
Yeah.
but it was like, it was beautiful. So like I said, your expertise and just your knowledge, even as a therapist, like I remember being in there and just it was like in a peaceful, restful way. You would just share things and it was like this bomb went off and my mindset would shift. And I was like, wow. But it was in such a way that it was just like, wow, this is like sneaky. This showed up, what you were sharing, the revelation, and it literally changed me. I remember taking so many notes. So I've been blessed from that, from the go and everything that you've done. And I've been able to participate in. And I just know that everyone that joins the masterclass, they're going to be blessed just with revelation, mindset shifts, and so much to come. So thanks, Susan.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I get that reaction from a lot of people. They're like, you just snuck that in there and I don't even know what happened.
Right, exactly. It's like, don't mistake my peace and my rest in this place of you like your personality, because all of a sudden it's like power and fire and change comes. So
That's the Deborah anointing.
yes,
I mean, I get that from you too. When you speak, I'll be like, whoa, where did that come from?
right.
So I see it in you too.
Yeah. Thank you so much, friend. This was beautiful and have a blessed day. And thank you everyone for tuning in today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.